start with electrochemistry. Okay, so in order to study electrochemistry, you have to be thorough with redox reactions, because it is the redox reaction, which is the energy released during redox reaction, is the one which is converted to electrical energy in an electrochemical cell. Okay, so this is the electrochemical cell, Daniell cell. You can see that zinc electrode is the anode, copper electrode is the cathode, and then electrons move from anode to cathode, and the conventional current moves from cathode to anode. So oxidation happens at the anode, and in this particular case, in an electrochemical cell, anode is negative because electrons are released there. Cathode is positive. We should not be getting confused. In an electrolytic cell where electrolysis happens, anode is positive, cathode is negative. That is a sign. But the reactions happening at the anode and cathode remains the same. Okay, whether it is an electrolytic cell or electrochemical cell. So this is an electrochemical cell in which the redox reaction energy released during that process is converted to electrical energy. Okay, so I can't write any equations here. So that is the biggest problem now. Okay, anyway. Right, this is important for the competitive examination. What happens if an external opposite potential is applied to this electrochemical cell? So in this particular cell, the voltage is around 1.1 volt. If the external voltage opposite to that less than 1.1 volt is applied, nothing is going to happen. The reaction will continue. Electrons will still flow from zinc rod to copper rod. Current flows from copper to zinc. That happens. And the zinc dissolves as usual at the anode, and copper gets deposited at the cathode. So this happens only when the external voltage which we are applying opposite to the one which is given by this cell is less than that. Now, if it is equal to 1.1 volt, you are applying an opposite in the opposite direction, 1.1 volt, which is exactly equal to the cell potential, then the reaction stops. No electrons will flow. No chemical reaction is going to happen. Okay, so that is one condition. Another one is, if you are applying external energy more than the one which the cell itself is giving, then the cell reaction is reversed. So it is now, in this case, it is going to behave like an electrolytic cell. Electrolysis happens. So in this particular case, where external external potential is greater than 1.1, electrons will flow from copper to zinc. Current will flow from zinc to copper, and then zinc is deposited instead of copper, and copper goes into the solution. This is exactly what happens when a lead storage battery is charged. When it is in use, it behaves like an electrochemical cell. When it is charged, it behaves like an electrolytic cell. So that is the reason there the cell reactions are reversed exactly like this. Okay. Then how are we going to determine the single electrode potential? For that, we have a reference electrode, hydrogen electrode, standard hydrogen electrode. So that is the one which is used. We have fixed the potential of this electrode as 0. When? Only when there is 1 molar HCl solution, hydrogen gas is passed through this at 1 atmospheric pressure, then only its potential is 0, not under other conditions. If anything else is there, you can connect it to another hydrogen electrode whose concentration is different from this, or hydrogen pressure is different from this, then we may call it as concentration cell. So when there is concentration difference, you are using the same electrode, then also it behaves like electrochemical cell. So the one which has got lower concentration will be anode, the one which has got higher concentration will be cathode. So that is how we play. Then in that case, we call it as concentration cells. Okay. Pressure difference also is possible. If concentration is same, pressure difference is there, then also it acts like a concentration cell. So once the half electrode potentials are determined, they are arranged like this in the decreasing order of their potential. The one which is at the top of the series is fluorine. Fluorine, all these are reduction potential. You can see the reduction here. Reduction potential is highest for fluorine. So which means fluorine would always want to remain as F minus. Okay. So that is given there as it should be F minus, minus charge is gone. You're supposed to put it as minus here. Okay. F minus it is. and therefore it is the best oxidizing agent. Similarly, at the bottom of the series, you have lithium, which has got the lowest reduction potential, minus 0.35. So lithium always would want to remain as Li plus in the oxidized state. That is a thing which it is going to show. And therefore, it acts as a very good reducing agent. So this is how the series goes. And one important thing is, all those elements whose reduction potential is greater than that of hydrogen, which is 0, they all liberate hydrogen from aqueous solution. It could be water, it could be acetylene, it could be ethanol, it could be any substance which has got any solution which has got H plus ions, it gets reduced. So that is, which means all the elements which have got a lower reduction potential than hydrogen, they can only reduce it. Okay. So that is another important thing which you can derive from it. And another important application of electrochemical series is that you can choose the electrodes for the construction of electrochemical series. So the one which has got higher reduction potential always acts as cathode. The one which has got lower reduction potential than that will always act as anode. So if the difference between the potentials of these two is higher, higher will be the cell potential. So considering that fact, you can even construct electrochemical cells. That is the importance of this. Okay. Then what if the solutions, it's not very easy to maintain standard conditions all the time. What if the electrode is not under standard conditions? Then you cannot use standard hydrogen electrode. So for that, what we have is a Nernst equation. It is a mathematical way of deriving this. So for that, we make use of this relation of delta G, free energy change, is equal to, under standard condition, delta G 0 plus RT ln Q. Q is a reaction quotient. That is when the reaction has not attained equilibrium. So when at equilibrium, K will be equal to Q, reaction quotient. So in this case, delta G and delta G0 are a measure of electrical work done, which is equal to NFE and NFE0 respectively. Okay. Somebody asking something? No. Okay, fine. So at 25 degrees centigrade, if you fix, then substitute the values of R, T, etc. and F also, then you are going to get 0.091 591 divided by N, where is a number, N is the number of electrons involved in this reaction. Number of electrons, number of moles of electrons involved for the following change. But if you take the general equation, A plus A moles of A plus B moles of B, giving C moles of C plus D moles of D. The EMF you can calculate by using this equation. Delta G is equal to delta G0, you will have to substitute for that. Then 0.0591 divided by N log of product concentration raised to the power equal to stoichiometric coefficient divided by reactant concentration, which is nothing but K. So that is how the equilibrium constant is related to cell potential. Okay. This is Nernst equation, which is very, very important. So generally in the Nernst equation, you are going to write it in this form. So that is E cell is equal to E0 cell minus of 0.0591 divided by N log of anode concentration divided by cathode concentration. In the previous cell, that is the one which I showed you, zinc electrode and copper electrode, they were connected together and zinc is acting as anode, copper is acting as cathode. So in that, if you want to write the Nernst equation, then it will be equal to E cell is equal to E0 cell minus 0.0591 divided by 2, because 2 moles of electrons are involved in that. Log of zinc 2 plus concentration, that is anode concentration, divided by Cu2 plus concentration with A, which is cathode concentration. Okay. Then most important is quantitative aspects of electrolysis. This is going to happen in an electrolytic cell. In an electrolytic cell, electrical energy is used to bring about a chemical reaction which otherwise is non-spontaneous. Okay. So for that, these two laws are very important. How much of current we are supposed to supply to get a required amount of the compound or element, whatever, or any substance. So for that, first law of electrolysis, the amount of chemical reaction which occurs at any electrode during electrolysis by using current is proportional to the quantity of electricity passed through the electrolyte. Quantity of electricity Q, as you know, is directly proportional to current in ampere and time. That is, it is the product of those two, I into T. Okay, Q is proportional to I into T. Remove the proportionality sign, you are going to put a Z there, isn't it? Q is equal to ZIT. Z is called as electrochemical equivalent. Electrochemical equivalent is different from your chemical equivalent. So electrochemical equivalent is the amount of the substance deposited by 1 coulomb of charge. That is how you are going to represent that. But equivalent weight is the amount of the substance deposited by 1 Faraday of charge. That is 96,500 coulombs. Okay, so therefore electrochemical equivalent will be equal to equivalent mass divided by 96,500. So that is how you are going to do that. And the second law is related to this one, that is when same quantity of electricity is passed through different electrolytes. What is the amount of the substance that is deposited at the respective electrodes? It is based on that. So the amounts of different substances liberated by the same quantity of electricity passed through different electrolytic solutions is proportional to their chemical equivalent weights. This is also very important. Okay. So this is about Faraday's laws of electrolysis. Quantitative aspects of electrolysis. Fine. Actually, when you use 96,500 coulombs, one equivalent of the substance is deposited. Okay. So let me now take, if you take Na plus needs 1 mole of electrons for 1 mole of Na plus, this gives sodium. Supposing you have got Mg2 plus, it requires 2 moles of electrons to give magnesium. So therefore, 1 mole would give only 1 mole of electrons would give only half a mole, 0.5 mole. So that atomic mass of this is 24. Half of that will be 12. This 12 is the equivalent mass. Okay. So which means 1 equivalent of the substance can be deposited by using 1 mole of electrons, 96,500 coulombs. Okay. So if you know that, then quantitative aspects are very, very important. Especially this, I would suggest all of you do more number of problems based on quantitative aspects of electrolysis for your NEET. Okay, because it is application based, you have to be thorough with the concept here, right? Okay, so in the same, I think I have seen more than one question in the same exam from this particular chapter. In fact, redox reactions and electrochemistry is put together. Together it is. You have to be thorough with the concepts in redox reactions. What is an oxidizing agent? What is a reducing agent? Especially the oxidizing properties of KMnO4 in acidic, basic and neutral medium. So also with K2Cr2O7. Okay. And how hydrogen peroxide acts as a reducing and oxidizing agent in different medium. Okay. It can act both as an oxidizing and reducing agent. Okay. So all these concepts are related to electrochemistry because it involves redox reactions. Okay. Right. Let's take up the first question, which is this. The question is like this. Yeah, it is about H2O2 only. In which of the following reactions H2O2 acts as a reducing agent? Okay. Before that, you should know how exactly H2O2 acts as a reducing agent as well as an oxidizing agent. More importantly, it is important because it acts as an oxidizing and reducing agent in acidic and basic medium, both. So you should know that actually. So let's write in acidic medium how exactly it acts as an oxidizing agent. So H2O2, when I take oxidizing agent H2O2, this is -2, -1 oxidation state of oxygen. This of course is +1. So if it has to act as an oxidizing agent, it has to get reduced, isn't it? or oxygen should be removed. So reduction part is only hydrogen. Oxidation can happen only with oxygen, isn't it? So when you write this as an oxidizing agent, so then you can write the equation as this is going to give H2O plus O. Or if you want to write the ionic equation in acidic medium, it will be H2O2 plus, so this would give you plus 2. If you take this as oxidizing, means it has to be reduced in this case. So reduction happens with, if you take this 2H plus, it has to take up electrons, plus 2 electrons if you put, this is going to become H2O. So perhaps you can write it as 2H2. So this is what happens in acidic medium. Okay, important. Then in alkaline medium also it acts as an oxidizing agent so that it gets reduced. So therefore in alkaline medium perhaps you can write it as H2O2 plus 2 electrons giving 2OH minus. This is in alkaline medium, okay, or basic medium. So both these reactions, it acts as an oxidizing agent. How it is acting as an oxidizing agent, it has to get reduced. -1 to -2 oxidation state. Same thing here, -1 to -2. Oxygen is getting reduced there. Similarly, it acts as a reducing agent, both in acidic, basic medium. Both mediums it acts. Supposing if you write the molecular equation for that, you can even write H2O2 giving oxygen plus nascent hydrogen it gives. So oxygen -1 oxidation state to 0. So it is getting oxidized, therefore it is acting as a reducing agent. Otherwise, H2O2 basically gives O2 plus 2H plus 2 electrons. So it is giving out electrons, which means whenever it acts as a reducing agent, oxygen is liberated. That is how you can identify that. Perhaps in basic medium also you can write H2O2, say OH minus. This should give H2O plus oxygen has to be liberated plus 2 electrons. So if you balance this, this has to be 2 because charge has to be balanced, and you can write this as 2. These equations are important. Okay. Hope all of you noted this now, right? So which means whenever H2O2 acts as a reducing agent, it has to get oxidized. Which part of it can be oxidized? Only oxygen, -1. Hydrogen has got +1 oxidation state, so it can only be reduced. Oxygen, because it is present in the -1 oxidation state, it can be oxidized. In fact, it can be reduced also. Right? Shall I rub it off? Now you take up the question. First question. I think you can answer that now. Yes. In which of the following reactions H2O2 acts as a reducing agent? Can you identify the reactions? One in acidic medium, another one is in basic medium, correct? 2 and 4, am I right? It actually A, B, C, D I have given. Take it as 1 as A, 2 as B, 3 as C, and 4 as D, okay? Yes. What is the correct option? In the option B, that is 2, H2O2 is giving oxygen plus 2H plus. If you bring the electrons to the other side, that acts as a reducing agent, isn't it? Giving out electrons. So the correct option for this question 1 has to be option B and D, option 2. Okay? Clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the second question. That is this one. Which of the following is not an example of redox reaction? You have got first equation Fe2O3 plus 3CO giving 2Fe plus 3CO2. In this case, it is in what is the oxidation state of Fe here? Plus 3 to 0. In this case, plus 2 to plus 4. So therefore, this is getting oxidized, this is getting reduced. So it is a redox reaction. Second one, CuO plus H2 giving Cu plus H2O. So in this case, copper is in the plus 2 oxidation state. Here it is 0, here it is 0, here it is plus 1. Therefore, this is getting oxidized, this one is getting reduced. So redox. Third one, best example for redox and disproportionation reaction. H2O2 giving 2H2 plus O2. In this case, plus 1 oxidation state, this is 0. Minus 1 oxidation state, not disproportionation, it is redox reaction. This one will be 0. Okay. So hydrogen is getting reduced, oxygen is getting oxidized, redox. What about the fourth one? BaCl2 plus H2SO4. This is giving BaSO4 plus 2HCl. Ba in the plus 2 oxidation state. Here also it is in plus 2 oxidation state. Sulfur, no change in its oxidation state. Hydrogen also is remaining same. Cl also minus 1, minus 1. This is not a redox reaction. It is just a displacement reaction. And therefore, your correct option has to be option 4. Okay? Move on to the question. Next question. Shall I rub it off?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 3. This is a good question. Okay. The more positive value of E0, standard reduction potential, the greater is the tendency of the species to get reduced. Using the standard electrode potentials of the redox couples given below, identify the strongest oxidizing agent. Strongest oxidizing agent should be having the highest reduction potential. If it has got a highest reduction potential, it has got more tendency to get reduced. How it is going to get reduced? By accepting the electrons given by the one which is getting oxidized, and therefore it will be helping oxidation. So hence you can understand this way. A reducing agent helps reduction. An oxidizing agent helps oxidation. So if an oxidizing agent has to help oxidation, its reduction potential must be the highest. Okay. So what should be the correct option here then? Which? Yeah. Ag plus. That is the one which has got the highest reduction potential, and hence it has got the highest tendency to get reduced, and therefore it is the strongest oxidizing agent. Okay. So the correct option is option 2. Fine. Hope all of you got this. Let us move on to the next question, which is question number 4. Which of the following statements is or are not true about the following decomposition reaction? It is a simple reaction. KClO3, in fact, it has got a lot of applications. I'll tell you where all the questions can be asked based on this particular equation. KClO3 giving 2 KCl plus 3 water. This one is that. Okay. So in this reaction, what is the oxidation state of Cl in KClO3? Oxidation state of Cl in KClO3. K is plus 1 plus X plus 3 into minus 2 equal to 0. So X should be equal to plus 5. Am I right? So this is +5. And here it is -1. From +1 to +5 to -1, which means it is getting reduced. Oxygen -2 oxidation state here, it is 0 here. So -2 to 0, getting oxidized, isn't it? So therefore, you can consider this as a redox reaction. So considering this fact, you can see that, yeah, in this case, this one. Potassium is undergoing oxidation. Potassium is not doing anything. It is just a spectator ion, just watching what is happening. Okay, spectator ion it is called. No change. +1 oxidation state here, +1 here as well. Okay, so that is not correct. Chlorine is undergoing oxidation. In fact, chlorine is changing its oxidation state from +5 to -1. Its oxidation number is decreasing, means it is undergoing reduction, not oxidation. Second one is also not correct. Oxygen is reduced. Oxygen is changing its oxidation state from -2 to 0. So its oxidation number is increasing, hence it is undergoing oxidation, not reduction. The reaction is not a redox reaction. In fact, the reaction is a redox reaction. That means all are wrong. Correct? No statement is correct. So your correct option has to be
Fourth.
yes, fourth. That's correct. Now coming to this particular equation itself, they can make use of this equation in your stoichiometric calculations. Okay, so because it is very simple and also a very well-known compound, that is the reason this is used. So in fact, it is one of the compounds which is used for the preparation of oxygen in the lab. Okay, only thing is you will have to add MnO2 as a catalyst here, that's all. So in this case, they might give you, say for example, you can calculate it later, not now, 2 gram of KClO3, which is a 75% pure, is taken. After it is decomposed, what should be the volume of oxygen that is liberated at STP? Okay, or sometimes 2 gram of this gives these many grams of oxygen. What is the percentage purity of this? That is the second kind of question. Third kind would be 2 gram of 75% or 80%, whatever. KClO3 is heated. What is the percentage of decreasing mass? These kind of questions, okay? So this is stoichiometric calculations. Perhaps you can do all these things. Fine. Let's move on to the next question. That is question number 5. This question is this. Identify the correct statement in relation to the following reaction. Which is that reaction? Let me write the reaction. Zn plus 2HCl. This is giving you ZnCl2 plus H2. This is the equation. Now in this case, before we actually go into the options, let's see what exactly is happening here. Zinc 0 oxidation state. It is getting converted to +2 oxidation state here. Hydrogen +1 oxidation state, Cl -1 oxidation state. In this also it is -1 only because it is in the combined state. Hydrogen, here it is 0, which means hydrogen is getting reduced, zinc is getting oxidized. So those are the two things which therefore it is a redox reaction. Now, zinc is acting as an oxidant. Is it correct? Oxidant is nothing but oxidizing agent. If it is an oxidizing agent, it has to get reduced, but it is getting oxidized, and therefore it can only act as a reducing agent. Hence, first statement is not correct. Chlorine is acting as a reductant. Chlorine is not doing anything at all. It is a spectator ion. Neither it is acting as an oxidant nor a reductant. So you don't have to speak anything about chlorine in this particular reaction. So it is not taking part. Hydrogen ion is acting as an oxidant. H plus +1 oxidation state to 0, which means it is getting reduced. So therefore, it has to act as an oxidizing agent. That is correct. Hydrogen ion is acting as an oxidant. Okay. So zinc is acting as a reductant. Because zinc is oxidizing, it is acting as a reducing agent. Okay. So therefore, I think I have not given you those options. Option hydrogen ion is acting as an oxidant. Okay, because hydrogen ion as such is not given, I think you can leave out that option, isn't it? Because in this it is in the combined form, isn't it? So most appropriate one would be zinc is acting as a reductant, isn't it? Correct? If they had given only ionic equation, then yes. What is the ionic equation? Zn giving Zn2 plus 2 electrons. Now 2H plus 2 electrons giving H2. If the equation were to be like that, Zn plus 2H plus giving Zn2 plus H2, then you could have considered that, isn't it? So the most appropriate one in this particular situation is zinc is acting as a reductant. Okay?
Yes.
Fine. So now let's move on to the next question. That is question number 5. Not 5, 6. Now actually I have changed this in the left hand side. It is looking as if it is oxidation potential. Take it as, in this one, take this as Al3 plus 2Al. Make it like this. And this is, actually I had changed, I may not have saved this, so it has come like that. So E0 values for the E0 will be equal to, convert this actually, E0 is equal to minus 1.6 volt. Similarly, Fe2 plus, I think it is 3 plus. Fe2 plus or 3 plus? 2 plus. Fe2 plus 2Fe, reduction potential, E0 is equal to minus 0.44 volt. Then Cu2 plus 2Cu, this will be equal to plus 0.34 volt. Last one is correct. F2 gaseous to 2F minus. This is a reduction itself, aqueous. E0 is equal to plus 2.87. Okay, so this, I hope you have made that correction. Which of the following electrodes will act as anode and when connected to standard hydrogen electrode? Standard hydrogen electrode, that is H2, PTH2, basically. So you can write this as gas 1 atmospheric pressure and then H plus. So this is the representation of that. So when it acts as anode, you can represent it like this. When it is acting as a cathode, then it has to be H2 1 atmospheric pressure, 1 molar it is, then PT, like this. Okay, that is the only difference. So when this, the electrode potential of this is 0, standard hydrogen electrode. So which of these electrodes can act as anode when they are connected to hydrogen electrode? So remember one thing, always in an electrochemical cell, anode will have lower reduction potential than cathode. That is how the EMF, E cell when you can calculate, it is always reduction potential of the cathode minus the reduction potential of the anode. This has to come out as positive, then only the cell reaction is feasible, spontaneous, because delta G0 is equal to minus NF E0. So any reaction becomes feasible only when delta G0 is negative. So which means this E0 of the cell has to be positive. If that is so, then E0 of cathode must be greater than that of anode. So which means 0, only these two, isn't it?
Yes.
These two will act as anode, these two will act as cathode. Okay, and hence your correct option has to be option 4. Okay? Any
Yes.
doubt? Anybody having any doubt? Can I get an S from all the students who are here? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Very few voices. It is okay. Maybe they have been muted or whatever. Fine. Let's go to the next question. That is question number 7. So in this question, this is also an application-based question, very important. So let's see this, how to do this. During electrolysis of molten sodium chloride, the time required to produce 0.1 mole of chlorine gas. You want 0.1 mole of chlorine gas. Because it's a dilute solution of NaCl, chlorine gas is produced. At the oxidation, it has to anode and cathode, hydrogen will be liberated. So 0.1 mole of chlorine. So how the reaction happens? 2Cl minus should give you Cl2 plus 2 moles of electrons. So if you want 1 mole of this, 2 moles of electrons are required here. Okay? So using 3 ampere current, the time required. So you have to, quantity of electricity required, you have to find out. Okay? For 1 mole of chlorine, you need 2 moles of electrons, isn't it? 1 mole of chlorine requires 2 moles of electrons. So we want a 0.1 mole of Cl2. So therefore 0.2 mole of electrons are required. So the quantity of electricity required should be equal to 0.2 into 96,500. Correct? So this should be equal to 0.2 into 96,500. So this will be 19300. This is equal to 19300 coulombs. Then use the equation. Q is equal to I into T. So 19300 coulombs should be equal to, I is 3 amperes, I suppose. 3 into time, you will get it in seconds. So therefore time is equal to 19300 divided by 3. How much it is going to come to? So this will be 6433.3. 6433.33 seconds. So I think it is asked in minutes. So divided by 60. You're getting around 107. 107 minutes. So the most appropriate answer would be option B or 2. Am I right? 110. Correct? Yes or no? So option 2 is correct. Fine? Yeah. So move on to the next one. Let me clear. Shall I clear it off?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Question number 8. This is also an application-based question. Total charge required to convert 3 moles of Mn3O4 to MnO4 2 minus. Find the oxidation state. Mn3O4. What is the oxidation number of Mn here? 4 2s are 8, 8 upon 3, isn't it? What is the oxidation state of oxygen here? MnO4 2 minus. So this will be 4 2s are 8. When it goes to the other side, minus 2 plus 6. So which means the change in oxidation number for 1 mole will be equal to 6 minus 8 upon 3, isn't it? So this should be equal to 10 upon 3 for 1 mole. So for 3 moles then, so 10 upon 3 into 3, this will be equal to 10 moles. So if you have 10 moles means 10 moles of electrons means 10 Faraday. Am I right? Yes? Any doubt here?
No, ma'am.
So your correct option has to be option 1. Okay, fine. Now let's move on to the next question. That is question number 9. One second, let me go to that. Changing. Okay. Yeah. Question number 9. This is a very interesting question, completely based on application. A current of 965 ampere, 965 ampere is passed through 1 liter solution of 0.01 molar nickel sulfate using nickel electrodes for 1 second. So therefore, the quantity of electricity in this case has to be 965 ampere into 1 second. This is the quantity of electricity, which will be equal to 965 coulombs. Then what is the new concentration of nickel sulfate? So basically we are passing this much of electricity through 0.01 molar solution of NiSO4. So basically you are supposed to find out how much of nickel is separated or deposited by using this much of electricity. Okay. So nickel basically in the +2 state takes up 2 moles, 1 mole of Ni2 plus needs 2 moles of electrons to get deposited. Okay. So here 0.01 mole, which means for 1 mole of nickel, you are requiring 2 into. So 2 into 96,500 coulombs is going to deposit 1 mole. But how much of charge you are using? 965. So 965 must deposit how many moles of this? Okay, so here 965 divided by 2 into 96500. So this should be equal to how much? This will be 100, 1 upon 200. Am I right? Yes or no? This divided by 2. So this will be equal to 5 into 10 raised to minus 3. Am I right? Which is equal to 0.005. So these many moles of NiSO4 are deposited, which means the amount left is initial amount was 0.01 mole. Okay, this much you have taken in 1 liter. Volume doesn't change. Only the nickel will be deposited, that's all. So this is initial value. Now this much is deposited. So how much is left? Ni2 plus left in the solution should be equal to 0.01 minus 0.005. This has to be 0.005. Correct?
Yes.
Mole per liter. So your answer should be option 2. There. All of you got this? Any doubt?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Next, go to the next one that is also very, very important one. Let me rub off all this. And then we can take up the next question, which is question number 10. Considering the following data, calculate the ratio of equilibrium concentration of D plus to that of H plus ions at 25 degrees centigrade for the following reaction. That is, reaction is given to you in this case. So you have been given a very simple reaction, D2 plus 2H plus giving 2D plus H2. You have been given the cell also here. You can see that PTD2, then D plus. And then this is acting as anode, H plus, H2, and then PT. This one is acting as cathode. Okay, so this is how the cell is. So this deuterium is acting as anode. And cathode, of course, because it is hydrogen electrode, it is not the potential of this is given to you only. That is E0 of D2 to D plus, which is equal to 0.003. Be very careful. This is the oxidation potential which is given to you. The reduction potential, if you want, which will be D plus to D2 minus of 0.003. So that you have to do. You have to observe that. Okay. So now use the same equation. That is E cell is equal to E0 cell minus of 0.059 divided by 2 electrons are required here, log of D plus concentration, anode concentration raised to the power 2 divided by H plus ion concentration raised to the power 2 as well. So E cell should be equal to, E cell is given to you, D2 plus dt, considering the following data. Okay. Even below, calculate the equilibrium concentration of this. Fine. So you will be getting only this, isn't it? You should have, they should have given you E of that. Otherwise, you won't be able to do that, isn't it? So that will be, just a moment, let me check it. If some data is left out, I think E should have been given there. While typing it out, I may have left it out. Okay. It is basically okay, not required because equilibrium concentration, isn't it? So at equilibrium, E cell will be 0. So I was thinking about this is 0 at equilibrium. This we can calculate. Sufficient data. Okay, not required. Anything else is not required. So because it is at equilibrium, E cell is 0. So this will be at equilibrium. You can write this equation as E cell is equal to 0. Therefore, minus of E0 cell should be equal to minus of 0.059 divided by 2, or you can bring the 2 whole square, you can make log of D plus to H plus. Okay, this 2 gets cancelled. So E cell basically, this is the anode, this is the cathode. So E cell is equal to E0 cell, of course, E0 of reduction potential of cathode minus E0 of anode. Cathode is hydrogen electrode, which will be 0, minus of minus it is, minus 0.003. It is coming out as 0.003, isn't it? So this minus minus gets cancelled. So you can substitute for that. 0.003 should be equal to 0.059 into log of D plus upon H plus. So find out log of D plus divided by H plus should be equal to 0.003 divided by 0.059. What is the value that you get there? 0.003 divided by 0.059. Yes, I think it is 0.05. Yes. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it is 0.005. So let's write it here. 0.05, not 0.005, 0.5. Now take the antilog of this. So D plus divided by H plus, that is what they have asked. Antilog of this, shift log here. So otherwise you have to, if you have that, so you will have to do it as, you can write it as 5 into 10 to the power minus 2. You have to do it, see the antilog for 0.5. That also is possible. Okay. 508. If I take, it is coming out as 1.12. So this is going to be 1.12. Do you have that option there? 1.12. This is the concentration. So hence your option has to be option 3. Am I right? 1.124 only or getting? Yeah. Any doubt in this? 1.124. Option 3 is the correct one. Okay. Rub it off.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now we shall move on to the next question, which is question number 11. Yeah. This is a very good question, okay? Based on completely on the concept. Which of the following statements is correct? You have got E cell and delta G0. In fact, these two are related by the equation delta G0 is equal to minus of NF E0. This is how they are related. And in this case, this is the one which tells you the useful work done, electrical work done by the cell, delta G0. And E0 value only will tell you what is the energy that the electron is felt, the energy felt by the electron when it is moving from anode towards cathode. So that is what it tells. So considering these facts, we can find out E cell and delta G or cell of the cell reaction, both are extensive properties. Is it correct? Which one is extensive and which one is intensive? Extensive properties are those which depend upon the amount of the substance. Intensive properties do not depend upon the amount of the substance. For example, density. Density is an intensive property. Whether you take 1 ml of water or 10 ml of water, same sample, density would remain the same. That is an intensive property. Whereas volume is an extensive property. If you have got 1 gram of water, 10 gram of water, volume will be different. Okay. So based on that, just now I told you energy, that is E, when you write, it is the energy felt by the electron, doesn't depend upon the amount. And hence your electrode potential is always an intensive property. So when you multiply an equation, you don't have to multiply the electrode potential. You will have to multiply delta G0 because this is extensive. Okay. So delta G is extensive, whereas electrode potential is intensive. So which is the correct option then?
C, ma'am.
Yes, that's correct. Very, very important. Okay, option C, fine. Now let's move on to the next question. That is question number 12. An electrochemical cell can behave like an electrolytic cell when? I told you this in the beginning itself, isn't it?
Third option.
Yeah, option 3, when external potential is greater than the cell potential, because you are applying it in opposite direction, therefore it behaves like an electrolytic cell. Okay, fine. That's then the next one, question number 13. Which of the following statements about the solutions of electrolytes is not correct? Conductivity of solution depends upon the size of the ions. Correct or not? Correct, isn't it? Bigger the size, slower is its, lesser is its speed, and hence lesser will be the conductivity. Correct?
Third option.
Option 3, conductivity does not depend upon the solvation of the ions. Yes, it does depend upon the solvation of the ions. That is a reason Li plus, when you consider it in aqueous solution, it will be bigger, larger than any other ions of this kind, like Na plus, K plus, etc. Moves very slowly. Conductivity of this is less. Okay, so therefore option 3 is the wrong statement. It is not correct. 14th question, that is also very important. Conductivity of copper increases with increase in temperature, increases with decrease in temperature, decreases with increase in temperature, both 2 and 3. It is an electronic conduction. Whereas when you speak about the electrolytic cell, it is electrolytic conduction. So electronic conductor means the electrons have to drift through, they have to find their place between these kernels, that is the positively charged ions. If you supply energy, increase the temperature, the positively charged ions, they start vibrating in their position. And because of this vibration, the electrons, the movement of the electrons is hindered. And hence, conductivity decreases. So that is a characteristic of metallic conduction or electronic conduction. Okay, it is always, it decreases with increase in temperature, whereas electrolytic conduction increases with increase in temperature because there the ions are the conducting species. Their speed increases and hence conductivity also increases. And hence the most appropriate answer should be 4, both 2 and 3. Okay? Yes?
Yes.
Let's move on to the next question, that is question number 15.
Illa.
Yeah.
Third.
Option 3. Okay. The quantity of charge required to obtain 1 mole of aluminium from Al2O3. Okay, let's write the equation. Al2O3 giving 2Al plus 3 by 2. You can write 3 by 2 O2. So this is what happens. So if this has to happen, so Al3 plus it is, plus takes 3 moles of electrons giving Al. So there are 2 Al, both require 3 each. Therefore, 6 moles of electrons are required for reducing 1 mole. So in which case, if you use 6 moles of electrons, you will get 2 moles of aluminum. So therefore, for 1 mole, you need only 3 moles of electrons, which means 3 Faraday. Okay, option 3 is correct. 16th question. This is very important. Okay, you should be thorough with the equations of lead storage battery, both when it is in use and when it is being charged. Okay, so when it is in use, lead acts as a anode and PbO2 at the cathode, isn't it? Both will be converted to PbSO4. When it is charged, then PbSO4 has to get converted to Pb and PbO2. So which means from Pb plus 2, it has to get reduced to Pb and it should get oxidized to Pb4 plus. So the reduction always happens at the cathode, oxidation always happens at the anode. Okay, so considering that fact, you can say that PbSO4 on anode is reduced to Pb. So you have to actually, when it is acting when the charging happens, it behaves like an electrolytic cell. Anode will be cathode, cathode will be anode, but it has to come back to that only, isn't it? So considering that fact, you have to see the options here. PbSO4 at the anode is reduced to Pb. PbSO4 on cathode is reduced to Pb. PbSO4 on cathode is oxidized to Pb. PbSO4 on anode is oxidized to PbO2. So if you consider all this, the most appropriate one, because it has to become anode only once it gets converted. So Pb has to be there at the anode and hence the correct option has to be 1. Okay? Yes? Any doubt here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So let's move on to the next question. That is question number 17. 17 is like this.
Ma'am, what's the answer for last one, ma'am?
Answer for?
Last one, PbSO4.
16th question, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
1. Option 1. Okay. Now let's take up question number 17. A current of 0.5 ampere flows through a metallic wire for 2 hours. The number of moles of electrons flow through the wire are. Okay. Okay, fine. In this case, a current of 5 ampere is flowing through a metallic wire for 2 hours. First, you find the quantity of electricity. Q is equal to I into T. This will be 0.5 into time always should be in seconds. So this is 2 hours into 60 minutes into 60. Now it becomes seconds. So this is equal to how much? So this will be 0.5 into 2 into 60 into 60. I think it is 3600, isn't it? Because this becomes 1. Am I right? These many coulombs of electricity we are using. Okay, so therefore, you know that 96,500 coulombs corresponds to 1 mole. Therefore, 3,600 coulombs must correspond to 3,600 divided by 96,500. This gets cancelled. 36 divided by 965. So this should be 0.037. Is it so? Number of electrons flowing through the wire. 0.037 is close to 0.04. Okay, so you are getting this as 0.037. You can round it off to 0.04. Okay, so hence the correct option has to be option 3. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Take up the next one, 18th question. That is, the quantity of electricity in coulombs needed for the reduction of 1 mole of Cr2O72 minus in acidic medium is. So you are expected to know the equation also here. Perhaps they may not give you the equation. So it will be, that is the reason I told you, redox reaction has got close relation to this particular chapter. So before we go to the next session, go through the redox reaction of first PUC. Okay, and then that will be easier for you. So Cr2O7 2 minus becomes 2Cr3 plus, which means it should take up how many moles of electrons?
3.
Yeah, so this one. So plus 6 oxidation state, there is plus 3, 2 of them. So therefore it needs 6 electrons. Okay, and it is going to become that, and therefore because it is in acidic medium, so left hand side you have -2, -6, -8 charge this side, there it is +4 charge. So you have to make it +4 this side, left hand side also means 8 plus 4, you need to add 12. 8 plus not 4, 6 it is. 6 plus 6 it is, not 4. 6 here. So 8 plus 6 it will be 14 plus 14H plus. So when you add 14H plus 7H2 on this side. So now you can see that oxygen is automatically balanced, right? So this is the equation. How many moles of electrons are required for 1 mole of Cr2? 6 moles, isn't it? So therefore 6 into 96,500. Your correct option has to be option 2. Am I right? Okay.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next question. Question number 19. Yes. This is also very, very important. For that, if you want to answer that, you should know the equation, Nernst equation. First, you write the Nernst equation for this cell, zinc and copper, Daniell cell. E cell is equal to E0 cell minus of 0.059 divided by, because it is Zn2 plus and Ce2 plus 2, you can write log of anode concentration, which is Zn2 plus concentration, divided by cathode concentration, Cu2 plus concentration. Okay, so if Zn2 plus concentration increases is more than the anode concentration is more than the cathode, this will remain. Negative charge keeps on increasing, cell potential decreases. If cathode concentration is more than that, when it comes to the numerator, it becomes negative. Negative into negative, it becomes positive. So cell potential increases. So when the concentration of anode is equal to cathode, this part will be 0 and hence E cell will be equal to E0 cell. Okay. So considering this fact, that means if you want to increase the cell potential, increase the concentration of the cathode. Right? That also can be asked. Under what conditions cell potential can be increased? Okay, fine. So now I think you will be able to answer this question. So first one, if you take first option, Zn concentration, anode concentration is 1 molar, cathode concentration is 0.1 molar, isn't it? So which means when it goes to the numerator, it becomes 10. So it is 10 to the power minus 1 it is, right? So it becomes 10. Log 10 will be that. So it will be minus only, isn't it? So if in the second case, the concentration of the two are equal, 1 molar, 1 molar. It is 1 molar and this one is also 1 molar. So the second part will not be 0. E cell is equal to E0 cell. In the third one, you have got, oh, I told you this, if this is more, then this will remain as, okay, so this actually, if you want to keep it as minus, minus into minus plus it has to be, isn't it? So that you are supposed to consider here. So if you consider the third option here, 0.1, let me write it here, divided by 1 molar, isn't it? Cathode concentration is more here, anode concentration is less. So this becomes minus, minus of minus, it becomes positive, isn't it? So in that case, option 3, third option, you will have the highest cell potential. And here it will be lowest. Middle one will be in the middle. So therefore, so the correct option has to be E3 greater than E2, because 1 and 1 only, it should be greater than E1. Correct?
Yes.
So therefore, your correct option has to be option
Second.
2. Yes, fine. Okay. All of you got this? They can ask you many kinds of questions with respect to this. Okay? Hope all of you got this. Right. Move on to the next question. That is question number 20. Yeah. The standard EMF of galvanic cell involving 3 moles of electrons and its redox on its redox, the standard EMF is given of the cell involving 3 moles of electrons in its redox reaction is 0.59 volt. The equilibrium constant of the reaction is, okay. So basically, so you have got this equation, that is equilibrium means it is E0. E0 should be equal to minus of 0.059 divided by n, in this case is 3. So this is 0.059 divided by 3 moles of electrons, both minus, when it comes to this also will be negative, log of equilibrium constant only it is, isn't it? So now E0 is both the sides have negative, so you can put it as positive. 0.59 into 3 should be equal to 0.059 log K. So log of K should be equal to 0.59 into 3 divided by 0.059. So this will be 10. 10 into 3, it becomes 30. So if you take the antilog of this, you will get K. Actually, you are supposed to take 30.000. So if you see the antilog at the 00 column, you will get it as 1. So this will go to the power. So 1 into 10 raised to 30. That is a value. Okay. So correct option has to be option 3. Am I right? Yes, any doubt here?
No.
No, not. Can I get an S from all the students? How many students we have? Around 8 students, okay?
Ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
Very
Yes, ma'am.
So now, yes. Go to the question 21. 21, the potential of hydrogen electrode at pH 10 is, you write the equation for that. Always when you write the Nernst equation, write it for reduction potential, okay? H plus an electron giving half H2. You can even write this equation like this, not a problem, but only thing is you will get square there, that's all. 2 moles of electrons, it will give you hydrogen. Okay, so when you take this equation, E of the electrode should be equal to, E0 is 0 of course, should be equal to minus of 0.059 divided by 1 log of 1 upon H plus ion concentration, isn't it? So E of the electrode, which is H plus to H2, this is the reduction one, should be equal to minus of 0.059. Bring this log of this to the numerator. That will be H plus raised to the power minus 1. So that is going to become 0.059 minus, of course, log of negative log you can write. Minus 1 you can multiply it with. So multiply this with minus 1. It becomes minus log of H plus. This is nothing but pH, isn't it? So minus of 0.059 into pH. So he says pH is 10. So substitute 10 there. This should be equal to minus of 0.059 into 10. So should be equal to minus 0.59 volt. So your correct option has to be option 3. Am I right? Third option. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Go to the next question, 22. It is a simple one. All of you can do this. For the reduction of silver ions with copper metal, the standard cell potential was found to be 0.46 volt at 25 degrees centigrade. The value of Gibbs free energy is, you have to use delta G0 is equal to NF E0. That's all. Okay, let's do it. Delta G0 is equal to minus of NF E0. So N in this case, silver ions and copper metal. So the reaction will be like this. Cu solid plus Ag plus, giving Ag plus Cu2 plus. So you have to take 2 of this, 2 electrons are involved here. So minus of 2 into 96,500 into E0 value is given to you. That is 0.46. This is the value. So you are going to get it in joules. 2 into 96,500 is equal to into 0.46. So you will get this as 88,780 joules. So this coulomb into volt, if you multiply, you will get that in joules. That is the energy unit. So you are getting this as 88,780. So these many joules, which will be equal to 88.78 kilojoules. So hence, your correct option has to be, it is close to 89, isn't it? Minus, of course. Minus 89 kilojoules. So correct option has to be option 3, right?
Yes, ma'am.
23, question number. Let me rub it off. Question number 23. The Gibbs free energy for the decomposition of Al2O3 at 500 degrees centigrade is as follows, which is 2 by 3 Al2O3 giving 4 by 3 Al plus O2. Delta G should be equal to here plus 966 kilojoule per mole. Okay, so this is the one. Now here he says change for the decomposition of according to following equation. So here basically 1 mole of Al2O3 when you take, it has to be converted to 2 moles of Al, needs 6 moles of electrons. But here you are taking only 2 by 3. So 2 by 3 into 6 moles. That much is required. For 1 mole, 6 moles are required. So for 2 by 3 moles, how many moles? So 2 by 3 into 6. This will be 2s are 4 moles. So 4 moles of electrons are required here. Okay. So 4 moles means NF is 0. Delta G0 is equal to minus of NF E0. This is 4. So E0 should be equal to delta G0 is given to you, that is minus of E0. It will be positive. So delta G0 is minus, of course, 66 into 10 to the power 3 divided by 4 into 96,500. Okay. So in this case, if you take numerical value only, you will get, because you are getting it in negative, isn't it? They should have given delta G as negative. Otherwise, it will not be feasible, right? Okay, anyway, let's find out the numerical value. 966 divided by 4. I think you can cancel it off. 1 by 4 you will get, isn't it? 1 by 4 will be 0.2.5 you will get around this. Even if you cancel it out, it will be 100 goes to the numerator into 10. So 0.25 into 10 becomes 2.5. Minus, of course, minus value you don't have here. So this has to be minus. Otherwise it will be non-feasible, right? Not feasible reaction. So make that delta G as negative. Then this will be positive. Then it is correct. So your correct option has to be option 1. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Have you got this? Yeah. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can ask.
No, ma'am.
Okay. 25. No, 24. Question number. Let's move on to question number 24. In which of the following pairs of elements, both the elements of the pair do not liberate hydrogen gas when they are added to HCl? Zinc and silver. Zinc liberates, silver does not. Copper and zinc. Zinc liberates, copper doesn't. Sn and magnesium. Magnesium, I think this one also, both of them will liberate. Silver and copper, both of them will not. So 4, that's correct. 25. Electrolysis of dilute NaCl solution was carried out by passing 10 milliamperes of current. The time required to liberate 0.01 mole of hydrogen gas at the cathode is. Let's find out that. So you are using 10 milliamperes, which will be 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 ampere current you are using. Okay. So hydrogen gas, you have to write this equation. Either you can write this 2H plus 2 electrons, 2 moles of electrons will give you hydrogen. So for 1 mole of hydrogen, you will be requiring 2 into 96,500 coulombs would give you 1 mole. But you want 0.01 mole, which means you divide this by 100. So this also you divide by 100. So the quantity of electricity will be 2 into 965 coulombs are required for 0.01 mole of hydrogen. Okay. So these many coulombs of electricity is required. So now you substitute. Q is equal to I into T. So 2 into 965 should be equal to 10 milliamperes is 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 will be 10 to the power minus 2 into time in T. So T should be equal to 2 into 965 divided by 10 to the power minus 2. So when it goes to the numerator, it becomes 10 to the power plus 2. So you do it 2 into 96,500, not 96. You can make it 96,500. So this should be equal to 193. 1.93 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 to the power 5.
I'm 1.93 in 10 to the power of my 4, ma'am.
4 you are getting? Okay, fine. So this goes to the numerator. So it becomes, okay. So 2 into 965 becomes 1930, isn't it? This becomes 1930 point something 0 into 100. So basically it should be 10 to the power 5. That answer is not there. Okay, isn't it?
Ma'am, it's milli.
That I converted already. 10 milli. 10 into 10 to the power minus 3.
And if you convert, it becomes minus 4, ma'am. If you shift from left, right to left, it's minus
No,
1.
10 into
Minus
10,
4 you get.
10 into 10 to the power minus 3 it is. It becomes 10 to the power 1, 10 to the power minus 3. When you add these two, you will get 10 to the power minus 2, isn't it? Correct? In fact, I have put the correct option here also. It is actually the second one was 19.3 into 10 raised to 4. 19.3 into 10 raised to 4. This is correct. Yes? Now you got it? Yes or no? Any doubt here? Anybody having any doubt? You can ask me. Make the second option as 19.3 into 10 raised to 4. It will be correct. Okay? So this will be like this, 10 to the power 2 time.
Yes, ma'am.
When you make it, it becomes 1.93 into 10 raised to 5 or 19.3 into 10 raised to 4 seconds. Okay, fine.
Yes.
I think it is almost time. If there is any reasoning, next one we shall take up, otherwise we can take up one more and then we can stop. 26. This is a very important question. In a cell that utilizes a reaction, this is the reaction which it is utilizing. Yeah, so it is ZnS plus 2H plus giving Zn2 plus H2. So you can use Le Chatelier's principle also to do this. So the one which is getting reduced is on the left hand side. Cathode concentration is on the left hand side. Anode concentration is on the right hand side. Okay. So in this case, he says addition of H2SO4 to the cathode compartment. You have H plus in the cathode compartment here. So it will increase the H plus ion concentration, isn't it? And therefore shift the equilibrium to the right.
Yes.
Because you are increasing the concentration of the cathode, electrode potential also increases, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So therefore, the option has to be increase in E, shift the equilibrium to the right.
Fourth.
Fourth option. Yes, very important question. Okay. So the remaining questions are not, I have taken it from your NEET questions only. 27, how do you answer that? Quickly. E0 values of chromium, manganese, Fe, cobalt are given to you. Minus 0.41, plus 1.57, plus 0.77, plus 1.9. Which of the following three metals would want to remain in the, it is easiest for it to get converted to +2 to +3 state. In which of the following elements, or which of these elements, change in the oxidation state from +2 to +3 is easiest? The one which has got the lowest reduction potential, isn't it?
Chromium.
Yes, chromium. Okay. So tomorrow in the next session, we are going to consider conductivity and all those things. Conductivity, cell equivalent conductivity and all those things. Just go through that. Then we shall take up those questions. Okay.